A little over a week removed from the Super Bowl, the heartbreaking loss that was the 49ers losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. We are here for solutions. It's time to look forward. It's time to look at the offseason. It's time to figure out how do we make this team a winning roster, a winning franchise, a Super Bowl winning franchise once again. Tonight is the offseason plan rough draft. We're going to talk all about the offseason, some of the things that they should do to go about trying to get that sixth Lombardi trophy that has been so elusive for so many years. We're going to talk about it all next. All right, welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And as you see, I've got a new Monday host with me. Coach is in the building. What's up, Coach?
Oh, what's good, Jeff? How you doing? We in here from here on out. Mondays feels good. Me and you, we've been trying to get the show together throughout the season, but now that we've got some things cleared out of the way, I'm glad that we was able to get it together, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, shoot, I try to tell people all the time. You and I talk literally almost every single day, hours on end, go on our walks and whatever, and just talk about the state of the 49ers like it ain't no thing. It's like, man, you know how many shows we could have recorded in this amount of time? Like, let's just do a show together.
Thousands
now that the
of
off
hours.
season's here, we got everything cleared up. We are ready to rock and roll, man. I'm excited to do this with you.
Yeah, man, I'm pumped, bro. Like, we'll be able to get into the season and really just kind of like reset, reboot, regroup, recover, and be able to respond. Super Bowl is all but over, right? And we've kind of got like our tough cries out of the way, but I'm excited. We're coming in with a bevy of picks. We got a lot of business ahead of us to handle. And as it stands right now, it's all 0-0 now. So we got to get to work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the time of season where everybody feels like they can win a Super Bowl, right? You got free agency coming up. You got the draft. Everybody thinks that they're contenders. Well, the 49ers have been contenders for many years. It's about punching through. And one of the things that we want to talk about to start this show is the details. And, you know, they say the devil's in the details, all those other things. Well, when you look at the San Francisco 49ers, one of the gripes that you and I have had is that we feel like maybe they're not as detail oriented as what they should be. I know that I've talked about, and I know that you echo these sentiments, that the 49ers just didn't seem to be fully prepared for that Super Bowl. And when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs and the stones that they overturned to go and win that Super Bowl, it's something that the 49ers didn't necessarily do. Now, with that being said, you came across a really, really, really good video from Ed Reed, Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it. And he was talking about some of those details. Do you want to give the audience a little bit of an insight into how that video, or how you came across that video and what you saw in that video, that kind of we can parlay into a conversation about the San Francisco 49ers?
Right. So I believe the interview is it's a tribute to Ed Reed's career. And I think that the person that he's doing the interview with is Chris Collinsworth, and he's just talking about the maturation process of the Ravens and what it took to actually break through and get that Super Bowl in 2012. And what he did at the time was just chronologically went through all of the losses that they had in the playoffs to the Patriots and how they had lost in prior years. And he sensed the urgency. He understood that Ravens team was about to get blown up. Ray Lewis was on his last legs. They were kind of at death's door as far as that regime is concerned. And he understood the moment. He knew that there's not going to be a lot of times that we can be able to take cracks at it. And desperate times calls for desperate measures, but it takes a leader to have the foresight to understand when the desperate measures are happening. And at that time, he had spoken up in the locker room, and he had just said, man, we're a bunch of losers, man. Like, that's what we are. I understand that everybody knows. And at the time, the Ravens were class personified, especially on defense. They were one of the best teams in the league. And here you had one of the leaders of the team, right? With Ray Lewis in that locker room. Okay. So this just isn't some weak locker room. This is a veteran locker room. All right. And you got Ed Reed sitting in the middle of that locker room telling them that they're losers, that they ain't no good. And the reason why they're losers is because they're not paying attention to the smallest things, the details on why it happened, or what it takes to actually get past the hump. And one of the things that he had highlighted was the fact that people just take their tape off, people just take their clothes off, and they don't even put it in the bin. They just throw it on the floor. And he was talking about those minute things, right? And is picking up tape really going to win you a Super Bowl? No. But it's the spirit around it. It's the attention to detail. It's not waiting for somebody to be the person to make the tackle, but I'm going to make the tackle. Not waiting for Kyle to give a good play, but understanding that this shit is going to work because I'm on the field. We're not waiting for somebody to give us the formula to go do something. We're going to win because of who we are. And I feel like if there was any time, right, because these guys are pros and they don't really need our motivation. They really don't need any of this, quite honestly, right? But if there was any time to highlight, just the little things, the small things, it will be now while the ground is fertile. Because we know once the draft gets going, once camp starts going, and these boys start getting in front of the camera, you know what's going to happen. They're going to go full speed ahead, and they're going to need the confidence to feel like they're world beaters. But the thing about it is that, let's just ask the real question. Did we learn our lesson from last season? Like, did we have real closure past the Eagles? Was it really all about the Eagles, and then it just was downhill after that? What did they honestly think was going to happen once they went to the Super Bowl? They thought the Chiefs were just going to play their game. For me, I feel like just the energy around the team going to the Super Bowl was revealing. And it felt like they were already celebrating. It felt like there was an exhale after they won the NFC Championship game. And we can go over it. We not too much, but so much so that Jed said that, look, dude, even if we had lost the NFC Championship game, this season would have been a success. Like, that right there is like, that just kind of shows you like where we're aligned. So like next year, this team is going to win games in the regular season, right? And they're going to be put together because, quite frankly, we're one of the best teams in the league. But I feel like as fans, it comes to a standpoint where, it's got to be an equal transference, man. Like, we give you our eyes, we give you our attention, we give you our money, we give you our engagement, and don't none of this work without us. So my thing is like, being a 49ers fan is probably one of the best NFL experiences you can have, right? We just were in the Super Bowl, right? But at the same time, it's like when the losses come, my man, y'all got to be accountable. Like, and you guys got to make us feel like you understand that we were there with y'all. And that's the biggest thing that I feel like gets missed at times from the team, is that they don't include us. They don't include like that extra step to say, yeah, we're hurt right now, but I know y'all are too. And this is what happened. This is the explanation, So I feel like we got a lot to learn. There's nowhere to go but up. We've got a lot of assets. We feel good, but this is going to keep happening if we don't learn from this. You know what I mean? Like, we got to get real
Well,
close.
I wanna bring this up because I think this is a good way to kind of transition the conversation. Motor says, and how does this equate to Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers? You don't think that Kyle's detail oriented? I think Kyle's
No.
very hold on. Well, hold on. Because I think he's detail oriented when it comes to his game plan, right? What is the offense going to do? What does that look like? But when
Okay.
you get into the overtime rule and your team doesn't know it, whether he knew it or not, that's beside the point. Although I think it's pretty clear he didn't. But let's say he did, but the rest of the team didn't. That's not details. That's not being detail oriented. You saw the Kansas City Chiefs come out and say that they talked about it every week in the playoffs and 3 times leading up to the Super Bowl in that 2-week time span. So much so that the whole team knew exactly what the plan was, which was we defer, we want the ball second, and if we get the ball second and San Francisco scores a touchdown, we are going for 2. Everybody on the team knew exactly what the plan was. That's detail oriented. So when you talk about, all right, details are little things. Ed Reed, after they lose to the Patriots, now the following year, they end up beating the 49ers in the Super Bowl. And he talked about how it didn't matter who they were playing. They didn't care who the opponent was. They knew they were going to win because at that point, they were so locked in on all the little details that started with putting your clothes in the hamper, throwing your tape away, that they knew they were so dialed in, nobody was going to beat them that year. And that's what the 49ers seem to be missing. And another sign that points to that, and I know people, oh, you know, it's not that big of a deal. George Kittle saying hi, George, to George Karlaftis. That is that big of a deal because in that moment, he's so worried about having a silly conversation. The whistle hasn't even blown. Those are the little details that we're talking about. So Kyle may be buttoned up when it comes to his game plan and how the offense is going to execute certain plays, but there are clear misses on the overall team detail that came through glaring in this Super Bowl loss, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It gets to a point where, you know, you got to do something different if you want to get different results. And you know, the defense, you know, all right.
This is a great example, Dusty. They don't even play with a wet ball when they know it's going to rain.
Yeah,
that's a detail.
Yeah. I mean, also like a detail is like, you know, the leadership, they need to really kind of like ruffle some feathers. There's way too much like camaraderie from like this like frat boy perspective where it's all for one and one for all. Like it's got to flow from the top down. Like who is the leader? You know what I'm saying? Like who is the leader? And I feel like one thing that really was like that kind of was like sticking in plain, like hiding in plain sight is when it came out about Chase Young's effort, like when everybody finally saw it, right? And you couldn't hide it. I remember, now tell me if you remember this, but I remember Fred Warner actually, he got talked to about that, like on the air. And they asked Fred Warner, like, you know, hey, there was some conversations about like the effort being, you know, spotty, you know, how do you feel about that? And like, he took like this like apologist route where he was like, yeah, well, you know, I can't be the one to say anything. I missed some tackles too. So, you know, I can't say anything. And it was just like, but now is not the moment to be diplomatic. Like now is the moment to take responsibility and say, you know what? It's my defense. I'm gonna handle that. I did see that. I'm gonna handle that. Like, you know, to the point where it's like, I don't understand where, you know, we got George Kittle talking to Chase Young on the sidelines about, you know, him and his effort, and we're all counting on you and this, that, and the third. And it's like, well, that doesn't necessarily strike me as like a standard. I feel like it's a double standard, to be honest, because it's like on one hand, you can like, man, I mean, dude, they stretched Coach Wilkes all over the place. I mean, if it wasn't Kyle throwing him under the bus to the media. It was him snatching him out of the booth because the boys wanted him down there. Then it was he's not making the adjustments all the way to the Super Bowl. Kyle being frustrated, calling timeouts. It's like, and then, eventually, like, he died. It was like the closing scene in Training Day. Like, Lonzo, just kill him already. Jesus. Like, once he left, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like all of that was under one common denominator. Standard. He's not living up to the standard. Cool. He's gone. But where's the other standard of, like, your effort? Is that on Coach Wilkes? Like, that was supposed to be already put in place before he got here. Like, where's the effort on missing tackles and having guys not showing effort in the playoffs? Like, are we really going to sit here and say if these guys can tell Coach Wilkes, hey, you're going to do it this way, this is the way we need to get things done, and they come and they talk to us as if they've already won a Super Bowl? Like, when is there going to be a real conversation about, like, look, the facts are is that y'all gave up on each other. When they gave up on Coach Wilkes, they gave up on themselves. That's the point. The point is that the best players, they're the GOAT because they realize they still need coaching. They still realize it. They still understand that, listen, I understand that I've gone to the top of the mountain, but I can still be consulted. I can still be told what to do. I can still be moved forward. And I feel like right now, like, we're very tribal as far as, like, insulated, to the point now where even mentioning an outside coach that's not from, like, the Shanahan tree, we're already asking questions about whether they can bend the knee to what we do, right? But
okay, let's transition real quick, because that is a great question. You talked about outside coaches and can they bend the knee to what the 49ers do, which is what Wilkes seemed to have done this last year, including coming down from the booth. So the next defensive coordinator, does that mean the next one has to come from within, or is there somebody on the outside that can get the respect and can kind of be given the opportunity to run things the way that he wants to run things? Is that a possibility in your mind, or is Kyle going to go with somebody who he's comfortable with already in the building? What do you think?
Well, personally, to be honest with you, Jesse, I don't think that Kyle was the one who really had that much of an issue with Coach Wilkes. I think Kyle's main issue with Coach Wilkes is that the players didn't want Coach Wilkes anymore, which, I feel like he got let go because Nick Bosa said during the Super Bowl, right after a loss, is that we weren't prepared. And it's like the irony to talk about we weren't prepared and you miss camp. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, you sitting here talking about what we didn't have ready to go.
2 days later, admitted in the closing interviews that missing camp messed with him during the season. He wasn't fully ready to go.
He said that he still didn't have his hands together. He still didn't know run fits after the Cincinnati game. Nick Bosa admitted, like, I still really need to get my stuff together with, like, the run fits and understanding how to get things. Like, he said that. But, like, in the biggest moment where there's, like, the ground is fertile as far as, like, blame is concerned, like, he planted that seed. He was like, we weren't prepared. And he was dead ass about what he was trying to say. So it's like, for me, I just felt like the irony was just kind of funny. Like, it's like, you can talk about us not being prepared, but, like, my man, you missed camp. And all throughout the season, you were talking about how you were still trying to get your legs up under you. Like, Eric Armstead missed an extended period of time throughout the entire season. Nobody's talking about that. Like, we started the season through camp. We lost over 7 guys on defense. I wish I still had that list in front of me. But we lost over 7 guys on defense. Real contributors, from Jordan Willis, Hassan Ridgeway, Jimmy Ward, Azeez Al-Shaair. Like, we lost guys. Samson Ebukam, Charles Omenihu. We lost guys, And with this defense, then let's be real. Isaiah Oliver did not work. All right. It didn't work. All right. And I just feel like for what he did to have the numbers come out of that defense and still make it to the Super Bowl, and then for all of that to still perform the way they did in the Super Bowl, it was enough. I feel like Coach Wilkes was a little bit of a sacrificial lamb because the guys just didn't want him there. And he wasn't a fit. I don't want to say it was personal. I don't think that anybody didn't like Coach Wilkes. I just felt like it wasn't their cup of tea. However, that's why I feel like it's going to be an inside hire. The names that we're throwing around, like maybe Brandon Staley would come in because he left with so much shame. Like maybe he would be a guy, but the three big names that I feel like could come in would be Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel, and Pete Carroll. Now, all three of those guys, I mean, I've never seen Ken Norton without Pete Carroll. I never even seen it. Like, so it's like, what are we going to do with our pre-existing staff, right? Are we going to keep Coach Kaczmarek, which he makes the money. He's not going anywhere. So I do believe that it's going to be an inside hire. It's probably either going to be the DB's coach or the pass game coordinator, Nick Sorensen, or what's the other kid's name?
Daniel Bullocks.
Bullocks. Yeah. So it's either going to be Sorensen or Bullocks. Or there's a X factor. Coach Lynn's kid. He's the DC over at USC now. He was the DC at UCLA. So he's a dark horse, but I think they're going to stay internal because just because of so much turmoil that was throughout the season on the defense. And then, honestly speaking, I just think that is so rich, man. Like, again, Kyle gets away with the bag. We found a way to talk about not only Wilkes being fired, not only the timeout that Kyle had to call because of the defense, but we still get to go back and chronologically look at all the times the defense let us down. And it's like the offense shit the bed and nobody's talking about it. Like, nobody's talking about how we had the leading rusher in the NFL and he only got the ball 22 times for 80 yards. Like, nobody's even talking about how we went three drives in a row for -2 yards in the third quarter. But, like, we can nitpick, like, the defense. I don't even want to say Wilkes. Wilkes is gone. Like, but we can nitpick. This is a defensively led football team. I'm tired of faking about it. I mean, I understand that the quarterback and Brock Purdy and everything gets, like, everybody gets, their just due as far as, like, screen time. But even when things are going bad, the fans, we all look at the defense. Kyle fired the defensive coordinator. Like, we all look at the defense when we lose. And no matter how bad of a blunder the offense does, no matter how many rotten eggs we see from the offense, they get culpable deniability, bro. Like, it's just inbred for nobody even bring up the offense. That the defense got 2 turnovers on Patrick Mahomes. We don't even talk about that's not even being brought up. A fumble and a pick. Kyle was nowhere to be found. Gone. So it's like, for me, it's like, dude, this is a defensively led team. We're going to get a D lineman in the first round because we need one. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying, bro, like, come on. Like, who are we fooling, man? Who are we fooling? Who are we fooling? He's got his toys.
What's crazy? What's crazy is we got to pick one segment coming up. And just to show how defensive this team is, my choices are going to be very clear that it's a defensive team. And what's funny is at the end of 2022 season, I remember saying, gosh, with Brock and Christian McCaffrey, I feel like this team is transitioning to an offensive team. And at times this year really did feel that way. But your point really is well heard, at least from me, in the sense that when this team doesn't win, everybody points the finger back at the defense, not the offense. The offense doesn't get any blame ever. It's always the defense. Always the defense. It's like, well, the offense left the field with the lead in overtime.
Brock led him. Okay. Brock led him. And it's like, you got, it's like,
Mahomes had 4 downs to get first downs. What did you think was going to happen in the Super Bowl?
And you know what else is going to be crazier is, like, the people that are going to start turning on Brock. Like there are going to be people that are going to actually turn on the quarterback before they start looking at Kyle. Really? Because I said this on the last show. I'll say it again. Brock is special for a lot of reasons. But one other thing that he did for me that was very special is that Brock showed the ability to be one of the first quarterbacks to survive Kyle Shanahan's bad games. Like, Brock is accurate enough, he's athletic enough, he has enough processing power, and he knows where to get the ball out. Good enough to, even when Kyle is shitting the bed, he can still look relatively decent. That's promising, right? Because if he gets old, once he gets older, maybe he can go to Kyle and say, I don't like running this shit. Like, maybe we should run the ball some more, right? Or maybe he can go to Kyle and say, all right, bro, like, I like this game plan. This is all right. But right now, we need to be giving the ball to Brandon Ayuk. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like there is a silver lining in that. Brock is, one thing that you can't say is, Jimmy, he took us to a Super Bowl, but that was bullshit. Come on, he's gone now, and he's ass now. Can we be honest about Jimmy now that he's gone?
Yeah,
So,
we were.
The cat's out the bag
when he was here,
right? The cat's out the bag. He was mid. So, but even like with Jimmy took us to a Super Bowl, and then there was a lot of people virtue signaling towards Jimmy because he just looked good and whatever the fuck. But the problem is that even though Jimmy took us to a Super Bowl, he was a broken quarterback because he himself failed in the Super Bowl, right? And no matter what you say, and all of them stupid ass interviews that they was doing, Jimmy's our guy. We love Jimmy, blah, blah, blah. Back to 49er football. They all know that he ain't got the goods. They all know. They saw it in the flesh, in the raw. You had a chance and you shit down your leg. With Brock, all of these boys got their hand in this loss. Brock relatively can walk away from this thing clean. Like, yeah, I missed some reads. Yeah, I didn't hit some people that I needed to. But for the most part, as far as like owning the moment, you motherfuckers got some work to do. This is my second year in the league. You know what I'm saying? So I do feel like Brock gained a lot of equity with this game. He got a lot of social currency. Like, all of the stuff that they were saying, because not only they believed it, but they were just galvanized behind him because that's our quarterback. Almost like kind of like the Jimmy rah-rah type energy. It's a little different now. It's kind of like, I feel like Brock can look these guys in the eye now. It's like, no. It's not no, as long as I stay out of the way and you guys do your job. Fuck that. You guys piss down your leg in the Super Bowl. Like, it's my show now. So, and I'm going to be interested to see how Kyle is going to be able to call games with Brock, with everybody kind of looking at Kyle now, because Brock is kind of still golden in this. Like, right? Like, you know, at least with Jimmy, Kyle got away with so much murder because he could always blame Jimmy for everything. Everything. And then Jimmy was such the perfect target. Wasn't he the perfect piñata? Because he sucked.
Did he disappear in the offseason?
Yeah, he would disappear. He was the perfect mark. All right. He looked good. He would suck, right? Then he would like not work hard. He would disappear in the offseason and not respond to anybody. And then even with all of that, he would not take accountability. He would always do this we bullshit. Like it'd be like, no, Jimmy, it was you. So
yeah, he'd always turn French in the post-game press conference. He'd be like, yeah,
we. Right. So with that said, Brock does not have that issue, right? Brock comes full face, like, yo, this is what I did. This is how I messed up. This is where it is. And right now was kind of like one of the first times you saw it, because it's rare, right? We don't lose a lot, right? But I'm going to tell you, there was a stark difference on how Brock spoke to the media versus how Kyle spoke to the media. And it's going to take some time because we're not going to lose a lot, but fans are going to start picking up on that shit. And they're going to be asking like, all right, so why does a 24-year-old kid have way more like control and accountability than you, Kyle? And I'm telling you, bro, like, football ain't going nowhere. You know, like, we're going to outlive all of this stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how it ends or continues, right? So
I love it. Well, let's take a quick break. We'll get to the super chats. We'll get to the rest of the show. I've got a new show sponsor, so I had to cut a promo for them. Here you go. Have you ever actually Googled yourself to see what's out there like I'm doing here? You'll know that your personal information, like your phone number, your address, previous phone numbers and addresses, your children's name, all of it. They're all out there, not stuff that I want most people seeing. In fact, in this video here, you're going to see that I blur out some of my personal information because I don't want it out there. That is why I'm using today's sponsor, Aura. Aura automatically takes care of all of it for me. Shows me what data brokers are selling my information and gets rid of it at my behalf. As you can see here on screen, Aura is taking care of 18 current data threats that are out there on the web for anyone to get. They give me antivirus protection. They give me VPN. They give me identity theft insurance, plus much more. And they do it at one affordable monthly price. You too can use Aura. Get your 2-week free trial today. Protect your identity, protect your family's identity. Link is in the description below. Aura.com/last second. Let's get back to the video. God, that guy is really good looking. All right. Check it out. Aura, get your 2-week free trial. Link is in the description. Let's get to a couple of these super chats. We got Shady Luke, who's an Eagles fan. He says, my boss is a 49ers fan, and in the offseason, he told me how he wanted to get Chase Young. I told him Montez Sweat was a better trade, and he didn't believe me. Yeah, Montez Sweat's way better than Chase Young. He should have believed you. And you're an Eagles fan. You see them twice a year. You know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Jesse Wade says, anyone else sick of this regime letting the wrong ones walk and overpaying for injury-prone ones? If we let BA walk, I'll be furious. Did you hear that latest report, Coach? The ESPN guy that said that he believes that the 49ers are going to let BA walk?
Yeah, I read it. For me, it doesn't make sense. Like, he's our youngest, like, most talented at receiver, like, weapon that we have. I'm talking like a dummy right now. He's the most talented, youngest asset that we have. And one thing about him is that he's the healthiest asset we have. Like, out of Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuels, George Kittle, and Trent Williams. Brandon Ayuk is healthy and he's peaking. And the thing about it is that he's peaking on a team that doesn't necessarily value what he does the most. We were ranked last in passing attempts in the league, and he still got 1/3. He didn't just, like, all right, Brandon Ayuk got just over 1,000 yards last year. He didn't just, I mean, literally, like, I don't even think he got 1,100 yards. He, like, just cleared 1,000 yards. Dude, he blew past that shit this year. Like, he got like 1,400 yards this season. And on top of the fact that he was like not even like the second option on this team, third option. Also, you know, how he was kind of brought into the team. You know, we got BA during the COVID year, and we had to use him early, soon, because we had all of those injuries in 2020. And the very next year, we all know about the doghouse. That's a huge storyline with BA, what he had to do in order to be, quote unquote, like, blooded in our team, with being a practice player and getting his practice habits together. And him and BA, I mean, Coach Shanahan and BA have really, like, locked horns along the way. I feel like there's certain players on this team where you could tell they move to the beat of their own drum, and BA is one of them. Jimmy Ward was one of them. DeForest Buckner was one of them, where these guys they're going to be there to do their jobs, but they're not also going to be swayed by, like, mob mentality.
But they're also leaders within the team. So when they're gone, it's a big deal.
It's
so
a
if
void.
BA were to be moved, it would be huge. Yeah.
It would be gigantic if we moved off of BA, because, you know, he just has way too much value for you to get that, like, now without you paying for it, or getting a receiver in here where they're going to be young and not ready. So it's like, even if you pay for it, it's going to be like, well, you should have just used that to pay BA. Like, what are we doing here? Right? Like, dude, come on. Can we just, Debo needs to take a pay cut. Like, that's the truth. It's Debo. It's Debo. Like, math is not hard. Debo's going to make $28 million next year. He doesn't deserve to make it. He didn't earn his money this year. He didn't. Especially with the last game he had. So right now, the truth of the matter is that you're just going to have to look at Kyle to see if he's going to have a conversation with Debo, because that's really the main line to Debo. It's Kyle. That's his boy. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it works here. Like, I'm tired of kind of playing it like, oh, well, Parag, see what he says. Like, no, we know the deal. When the rubber meets the road, when we were about to lose Trent Williams didn't call John. Trent Williams called Kyle. Said, hey, man, you need to get this together. I'm about to roll and go to Kansas City. Like, let me know what's going to happen. So the same way, like, there's a main line to these players. Like, I know Kyle tries to act like he doesn't want to be involved, but the truth is like, either they need to find a way to pay BA, which they can. The numbers are there to pay him. But I just think that somebody's going to have to tighten their belt in order to let him get a seat on the bus. Like, so it may, I would say Debo. I just don't think I'm not even being mean about this, but I just don't think he's worth the $28 million next year. I don't.
Yeah, I agree. Eric says, if this team wants to win a Super Bowl, dump Kyle. It's not going to happen with him as head coach. Shady Luke comes back and says, your guys' offense stalled versus good defensive coordinators, Cincy, Cleveland, Baltimore. The saving grace versus those teams would have been depth in the trenches. Well, now they got to deal with McDonald twice a year in Seattle, so I'm curious to see how that goes.
That's a very good point, though. You know?
Yep. Mac Jones, and that's the other interesting thing, too, is what was the stat? Like, Brock Purdy against the blitz was the best quarterback against the blitz. But one thing that doesn't take into account is there are different types of blitzes. There's different types of blitzing teams. And just because you blitz doesn't mean you're getting pressure. Right? Things change when pressure is actually there. Things change when you send 5, but it looks like you're sending 8. You drop some in coverage and you have good corners that can play man behind it. Things change. It's different when the Giants are blitzing you versus when Cleveland's blitzing you, or Baltimore's blitzing you, or the Chiefs are blitzing you, right? So there's your offensive line. The offensive line didn't do a great job all season holding up, and Brock can only do so much, especially being in year 2. And ultimately, the blitz did get to him in crucial moments in this season and in this game.
Well, I'll say this. Traditionally, you would look at Coach Forrester and say, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? But he started the year with this whole line. That's one. All right. So he already started the year with like the weakest unit on the team. 2, we don't play against a lot of good defenses. That's something that I feel like now we can say this now, and fans will understand what we're trying to say. But during the season, it just sounded like hate. You know what I'm saying? Like, for us to say that we're not really playing against like the best teams in the league right now, and it's going to look a lot different when we play like stouter teams. Like, nobody wants to hear that when you're on like a 5-game win streak, right? Nobody damn sure wants to hear that when you lose 3 in a row, right? Especially when you lose some teams that you shouldn't lose. And then we were really forecasting when I'm like, shit, if we lost to Cincinnati, and you know what I'm saying? And we lost to the Browns with PJ Walker and Kareem Hunt. Like, I was really forecasting it. So in the moment, it's hard for you to have those conversations, right? In the moment where you're saying to yourself, like, guys, we're trying to talk about the 10th of a second. We're not talking about second place, third place, fourth place, second seed, you know what I mean? 5th seed in the NFC. Like, these guys are teams where we're going to find problems with these teams. We're good enough just across the board. Getting off the bus, we're better than this team, right? And they have too many holes in order for them to sustain a full game. We have to mess up to lose this game. We played a lot of games like that this year. And it was evident when we played teams that were not impressed with us. They understood that they could match us in the trenches with physicality. And offensively, they understood that they had a quarterback that could get outside of the pocket and make our defensive line run. So that's just some of the things that I want us to be cognizant of coming into this season of like, all right, we know what it's like to get to a Super Bowl as fans. And we understand that 80% of the league that we're going to play against, we're supposed to dominate. So when we're playing against the Minnesotas next year, right? And when we're playing against the Cincy's next year, and we're looking shaky against these guys, but we eke out a win, I don't want to hear from the fan base ready to chop everybody's head off when we're being critical of a game where we didn't win the way we should have, right? Because in week 1 versus Pittsburgh, they drove on our ass for over 90 yards. And that was week 1. They ran up and down the field on us in week 1. And that was a team that we were supposed to dominate. I brought that up week 1 just as a point of reference because, we're supposed to have a great defense. And I brought that up and it was hellfire. So all I'm saying is that I'm bringing this up too because as fans, we're a little culpable too. Sometimes we can love on them a little too hard where we're not noticing some things that we should be paying attention to as a fan base. Because this run game, this lack of a run game, this was happening all year, right? Randy Gregory didn't get here at the deadline. He got here early, right? Mm-hmm. So we have been trying to work on this all year.
Yeah, that's a good point. Smack Jones says, I don't trust this front office to flip BA for comparable talent. That makes me nervous. Also, we need to get a DC that can bring some talent with them. Well, and that's the other thing is it makes it really hard to bring a DC from the outside and give them full autonomy because you look at some of the guys on this staff. If you bring in, let's say, Bill Belichick, which that would be awesome. I would love to have Bill Belichick. But one of the things
it'd be really good for Kyle if he came.
Well, I agree. But one of the things to me that makes it a little unrealistic is the fact that if Bill comes in, he's cleaning house. He's not keeping your secondary coach and your Chris Kasirik. He's not keeping those guys. He's bringing his people in. So
he's got a son in defense and everything.
Everybody, right? So are you willing to get rid of everybody so that he can bring in his people for maybe a 1-year stop? I don't know. I don't know that that's realistic. And maybe they are. Maybe they can. Maybe they can work out something. But man, it just makes it that much harder. Tia says Brock is okay, but we need an elite quarterback to overcome Kyle. Tia, Brock is elite. Don't you know? Trice says our 2 biggest needs are right guard and right tackle. They can't do blitz pickups and they get beat one-on-one. Even McGlinchey didn't miss blitz assignments. He just had slow feet.
Nah, he used to miss blitz assignments, boy.
He did a lot.
Sorry,
he was one of the worst graded right tackles in the NFL this year. That's not good.
Hey, man, he struggled. He struggled, man. I'm so glad that we got rid of Mike, man.
Smack says Kyle should change the offense for BA. It's time. Shady Luke says, and not to mention Spags and KC. Yeah, that's a good point. And then he follows it up and says, seems some Niner fans are okay with BA leaving. And it makes me laugh out loud. Like you'd better hope a reliable number 1 wide receiver takes his place passing league. We do this every year, Shady Luke. And I got to imagine that all fan bases do this. But it seems like when there's a player that is up for a contract and there's talk of him possibly leaving, all of a sudden the fan base comes up with a million different reasons as to why that player isn't as good as what we talked about all season long. So all season long, we were praising him and he was great and he's this and he's that. And we get mad if somebody talks bad about him. But as soon as it's contract time, it's like, yeah, I mean, not even that good, really. How good is he really? He couldn't get open in the Super Bowl. I mean, he only had 70-something. How many touchdowns did he have the first half of this? See, we do this every single time. Now it's BA's turn. It's funny how that works out, Shady Luke. Brother Bob says, love the connection. Nails and coach, straight fire. Well, it's one that we've been working on for a while. Glad we could make it happen. Okay, let's talk about that, though. Let's talk about some of the needs that were brought up during these super chats. In your opinion, what are the 3 biggest needs the 49ers need to address. Not necessarily how they are going to address them or who those players are. Again, this is an off-season plan, but it's the rough draft. You don't just come in with your final product, pitch the presentation. We're rough drafting here. So let's just look at some of the needs. What are the 3 biggest needs for the 49ers?
Well, in the season, we need a linebacker, a starting linebacker. We need one. So I'm not going to go with who. You said we're not going to do it, but we need a linebacker. We need a starting linebacker. 2, we need a corner. We need a starting corner. We're like, in my opinion, Charvarius Ward is a very, very good corner, but he's not a number 1 corner, in my opinion. And if we're going to keep him as our number 1, I would like to at least get somebody young on the other side that we can pick up. I wouldn't be mad at a corner in the first round or a second round corner. I wouldn't be mad at that. It's time to just shore that up right now because I feel like we're really close because we got a nickel in Demo. So with Demo arising and with Charvarius on the other side, going to just nip that in the bud right now, that would help us tremendously having that other corner. So linebacker, corner, and for me, I like a true speed element. Like we need a speed element on our offense. I know we were working on Danny Gray, and it just seems as though that, that time is coming past and we're not going to use him. Maybe there's an emergence of him this offseason, but we need like a true speed element. Like we played against the Ravens, man. Zay Flowers, man, he's electric. Like we need that. We need that scary threat. We played against Detroit. Amon-Ra St. Brown was electric. Like, I just don't feel like we have that electric player on our team that can take the top off, that wherever he's at on the defense, you have to account of you. Wherever he's at on the offense, you have to account for him. So I think we need some speed. And another thing is, like, we do have like a lot of like yards at the catch, but our guys are getting a little older, man. I think being able to have somebody that could take the top off, if BA stays, that would really help BA because that would kind of take him out of that duty as well.
Yeah, I think those are good. I mean, the needs that I wrote down were obviously, I mean, we've said it a million times, O-line. we know that is a need. We've seen it all.
Yeah, O-line's there. Yeah. We need O-line.
Time to address it. Corner, I agree with you. Corner, they need a starting corner opposite of Ward because Deommodore Lenoir, and this is what's great about Deommodore Lenoir, they can get a corner that is a nickel corner or a true outside corner, and Deommodore Lenoir can fill the missing piece. Do they need him to be the nickel? He can do that. Do they need him to kick back outside? He can do that too. So whatever it is that you feel like, whether it's through the draft or free agency, doesn't matter if it's a nickel corner or a true outside corner. Either way, they can make it work with Deommodore Lenoir, and that's why his flexibility is so crucial to this team. So I agree. They need a corner, and they need a true edge rusher, pure edge rusher outside of Nick Bosa. That's when this team was at its best, was when they had D Ford. But I'm going to throw in a bonus one real quick. What about an electrifying punt returner that can help flip the field for this team every once in a while? That is something that has been missing for a long time from this team, really since the Ted Ginn days that I can think of. So for me, that's the bonus one, right? We said 3. I gave my 3. That's my 4th. But man, if we had an electrifying punt returner, that's a huge advantage for this team.
I feel the same way, Justin. That's really what I mean by like my speed element. We need something else. Like, it's almost like Richie James didn't really pan out for us, right? Emmanuel Sanders came here like 5 years too late, but something along those lines. Like, we need a speed element guy that can get on the field. He can be used in packages. He doesn't have to be on the field at all times. But one thing that he is doing on a daily basis is he's our punt returner, he's our kick returner, and we just shore that up. We've always, if you think about it, I mean, even when we got BA, we were talking about BA possibly having some returning skills, right? Like we put Debo back there, we put Ray back there, we put Jawan back there, we put DBs back there. I mean, God, Lee, we put everybody back there. And I can't remember Ronnie Bell. Like, I can't think of the last time we had a consistent returner in the second. I mean, on our team. I think maybe the last guy that we had was when Raheem Mostert was here. I think Raheem Mostert was returning kicks at one point, and he was doing a good job for us. But outside of that, we do need a speed guy. We need somebody who's kind of locked in that position. And I would love for it to be a pick. You can find all types of speed in today's game anywhere. Like, I would love for it to be a pick. But as far as linebacker, I honestly believe that what we need at linebacker, there's really only one name. That, it's Azeez. We got to write that wrong. And then pay him what he's worth too. Give him $14 million. Pay him. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm sitting here looking at the guys that we're paying, like, I'm looking over here at Sport Track right now. Like, next year, Trent Williams is going to make $31 million. It's hilarious to me when it's like, thank God Trent's coming back. I'm like, yeah, no shit. He's about to make a $31 million next year. You think he's going to, you know what I mean? You think he's going to have a change of heart? Like, man, I wonder if I really want to play next year. Like, no, he's going to get that money. You know what I'm saying? Debo Samuel is due to make 28.6, like we said. Eric Armstead is due to make 28.3. Like, is he really worth that 28.3? Eric Armstead is another dangling guy out there where you're saying, like, hey, if I'm sitting here trying to, like, look, you had the boy at the NFC Championship game and he ain't even on the team no more. He was down on the sidelines with the linebackers. Like, y'all get together and get your Cabo money together. Like, go with one less bungalow this year and get Azeez his money. Like, you can get $14 million, pay him what he's worth. And the truth of the matter is that he was kind of like a cap casualty in a sense, because we doubled that. It's like, this is what kills me. So last year when we lost the NFC Championship game, it was Tyler Kroft, right? It was Tyler Kroft that messed it all up, right? So he was the scapegoat. This year, it's Spencer Burford, the 5th round pick. You know what I'm saying? It's like, dude, pay the players that should not. We shouldn't have let go of DJ Jones. Like, it's like evident. I don't understand why is it so clear to us from 10,000 miles away, and they can't see it right in front of their faces. Like, they should have never let Azeez walk. So I don't care what he wants. They should pay him. They got to get him in, because whatever you're going to bring in, that's literally the only player that I can see right now that we could bring in, and it could be a lateral movement from Dre to Azeez. Anybody else, expect a drop, whatever we do at linebacker. If it's a rookie, if it's a draft pick, if it's a high draft pick, if it's a free agent, whatever. If it's not Azeez, you can bet your bottom dollar on it. It's not gonna look the same. So that's huge.
To me, they're gonna have to rely on those guys that they drafted this year and hope that Greenlaw can come back. You
believe in D Winters to take over that? That wouldn't even be fair to D Winters.
I'm not saying it's fair, but listen, I mean, you got rid of Wilkes, deservedly so, right? We talked about how it wasn't.
They weren't feeling him. He had to go.
But again, Wilkes in the Super Bowl lost Dre Greenlaw, who we know is one of the most important players on that defense. And if the offense had lost the equivalent to Dre Greenlaw, then all the excuses would have been made. So figure it out, man. I mean, he'll be back at some point next year. Figure it out. Like, you got to, whoever you're bringing in needs to be good. I mean, yeah, maybe it could be before that, but either way, that's okay. So he gets the final 4 games of the season, and then you're ready for the playoffs, right? I mean, the playoffs, you should make the playoffs without Dre Greenlaw. Like, you got to figure it out. So I don't know.
SS says it right there. I agree with SS, the comment. Dre ain't coming back 100% healthy until 2025, and that's facts.
I agree with that. Even
if we get him back, it's like, You
You're
know,
paying
like
him good money. You're paying Warner good money. I mean, you can't then bring in Aziz and pay him top tier linebacker money. Like, there's only so much money to pay. Like, you can't do it all. You can't do it all. So I don't know. That's just me. Brother Bob says we are screwed if we lose BA's 1,300 yards. Facts. Roscoe says BA's a dog. Debo's a dog. Draft Josh. Troy Franklin. I think you mean Troy Franklin. Listen, I love Troy Franklin. You know, I'm an Oregon Duck fan, Roscoe. You know that. But if they draft him instead of an offensive lineman and they haven't traded BA to like warrant drafting the receiver, I'd be pretty disappointed. And I love Troy Franklin. Love the Ducks, but man, that ain't it. Dave Barclay says, agreed, killing it. What's up? Love you guys. Appreciate you, Dave. Roscoe says Ward is the number one cornerback. Stop, coach. That's casual.
I mean, look. The Chiefs let him walk. Like, we brought him over here to be a shutdown guy for us. Like, I understand that he's a number one to us, but for what we paid him, he's not making number one money. Like, let's go to the money. The money don't lie. So, Charvarius Ward on here on Sports Track. I don't even see him up here. Hold on.
Oops.
I don't see him. Do you see him on Sports Track?
Here, I'll find it right now. Let's see.
Yeah, there he is. He's made 17 next year.
I'm just looking at overall contracts.
George is going to make $21 million next year.
Jiminy Christmas. 1, 2,
Jesus.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ward's like 12th on the cornerback list as far as contract value.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, he's middle of the pack. He's not top 10. I love you, Roscoe, though. Me and you been beefing on Twitter. You my man, Roscoe. You my guy. Roscoe, my guy.
Tyler Wise Guy says the Niners' next DC might be Nick Sorensen in-house or Chris Kiffin from the Texans. The Patriots' former player says Bill won't be a DC. Yeah, I don't think he'll be a DC either. We'll see, man. We'll see. Roscoe says Debo's electric, not deep. He demands attention. Yeah, but he can't get open against man coverage.
Yeah,
I think he's electric. I think he's electric, but he's not. He's not electric in the true sense that normal wide receivers are, where you can just, all right, go ball, go get it. I mean, he really couldn't get open against. That was kind of exposing. I'm not going to lie, man. The fact he couldn't get open against man coverage. I mean, my gosh, bro, you're about to make $30 million and you can't beat man-to-man coverage in the NFL. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. You guys are going to have to define electric to me, but I feel like Debo is dynamic. He's physical. He can get the ball. He can make a lot of good moves once the ball is in his hands. But for me, I don't necessarily. I feel like Debo does he does a disservice to himself when he does not have the ball in his hands. Debo's not a physical blocker. Debo does not play to the echo of the whistle. Debo takes plays off. Debo runs lazy routes. Sometimes he gets too physical when he should be using his feet. Debo gets tired. So I understand, like, yo, you get the ball in his hands, he's a problem. That is the truth. If you put Debo anywhere on the field, he has to be accounted for. That is, I feel like that's accurate. But for the price tag, that ain't it. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I could see if, like, I was saying something that was, like, so ridiculous. He said it himself. Beginning of this season, he said last year was trash. I felt that way, too. He's like, I had a horrible season. And I felt like he was trying to be, like, way hard on. You ever have, like, your friend who is just like, man, I suck at this. I'm so bad at this. And it's just like on the low, they want you to be like, no, you're really not that bad. Like, it's okay. Yeah. Like, it's like Debo was like, I suck. I had such a bad season. It was just like, Yeah, you did.
That checks out.
Yeah, you did. You did. I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, I was wondering when you were going to make light of that. Yeah, you did. You really did. You had a bad season. Like, so I just don't think it went over the way he thought it was. Like, we were all going to be like, man, Debo's just being so rough on himself. He was like, come to think of it, you really did have an ass. I'm so glad you brought that up. So, I mean, like, for me, the way he finished out this season, I need more cowbell. He just going to have to give me a little bit more. That's all. For $28 million. That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about effort without the ball for 2 seasons now. Like, that can't happen when you're a number 1 receiver in this league, a top 10 playmaker, all the things that people say that make Debo worth it. You have to be more. And that's what makes Brandon Ayuk so unique in this league is he is a number 1 receiver who, oh, by the way, is a good blocker, not a malcontent in any fashion. I'm not saying Debo's a malcontent, by the way, but he's not the blocker that BA is. He's not the willing blocker. He doesn't give effort when the ball's not going to him the way that BA does. BA is so unique, not for just the team, but for the league. And that's why it would be really, really, really crappy if they moved on from him. Brother Bob says Billy B. Yeah, huge. Billy B and Carroll, our old head coaches, will not be DCs for Kyle Levy. Wow, that's the new one, huh? Marv Levy, Kyle Levy. I'm drawing the correlation. 70-year-old Super Bowl winning head coaches laugh at Kyle Levy. All right. Roscoe says Armstead moves the needle on the defense, maybe?
I mean, he moves the needle when he can walk. Like, he's got that plantar fasciitis. Like, even against the Packers, he was out of shape. He could not get to the edge. Like, Eric is officially in a position where, like, he like gears up to give you that great game. Like, he'll give you a great game. He'll give you like 2 strung out good games back to back. But like on a consistent basis, it's almost kind of getting to the point where it's like a little bit of Trent and Eric, where it's like they're going to miss games in the season. They're not going to go through the whole year. Like, it's kind of like something that it's a trend. We see it every year now, where somewhere along the lines they're gonna take about a 2 to 3 game, break. And specifically with Eric, it's always his lower extremities. It's the foot. It's his heel. So listen, they're not going to be here forever. The players are made to get they're here to get old. They get old for a reason. So it does suck, kind of like, looking at like a great player that over the years you see the decline. But you have to ask yourself at some point, if we're talking about like the survival of the league, surviving the league with our regime, it's like, all right, Eric Armstead is going to make $28.3 million next year. Like, it's a lot of fucking money. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I just want us to just understand that I'm glad we got the picks, because a lot of the guys that we're going to be bringing in are going to be guys that I can see like down the road are going to be elevated. We're about to, this draft, potentially we could start seeing like the backups of our greats. Like, we could start seeing the backups coming.
Mm. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the guys that are free agents, not only on the 49ers, but across the league.
Mm-hmm.
Give me one player, unrestricted free agent. So just to be clear, Jawan Jennings is not unrestricted, so he does not qualify. So for those of you that are like, it's got to be Jawan, he's not unrestricted. So unrestricted free agents for the 49ers. Give me one that they need to bring back, and then give me a free agent across the league that they need to bring in your opinion.
Clelin Ferrell is my guy. I want Clelin Ferrell back.
I like it.
I think that he's just in the same. He follows the same track of what we're used to. Depth, right? A wave of consistent play from first to second string. Like, Clelin Ferrell, in my opinion, once Cleveland Farrell went down, it was kind of open season on our D line. If you remember, before Cleveland Farrell got hurt, once Chase Young got in here and he was there in like a package capacity, and Cleveland Farrell was still here, it was kind of like, oh man, all right, we look good. Like we got a wave of a defense, we got guys coming in and off the field, and we have a run package. We can mix things up with Chase and Randy Gregory and Nick Bosa. So it was kind of looking good. And then Cleveland went down, and it was like, well, you know who has to start now? Chase. It's like that's when things kind of got weird. Because let's be honest, he wasn't a starting caliber player at times in the season. That's not here to say that he's not a starting caliber player, period. But at times, what he was putting on tape wasn't professional. So for me, Cleveland Farrell reminds me of kind of a mix between he's like a little bit more of a more athletic Jordan Willis, right? Like he's got the body type of Charles Omenihu, but he has more girth than Charles Omenihu, and he's definitely longer and bigger than Samson Ekubam, but he's kind of got like that brute strength of Jordan Willis. He's got like the pass ability, the pass rush ability of Charles Omenihu, and his run defense, he's stout as Samson Ekubam was. So for me, we can never get enough depth pieces. And I think even when another reason why I want him back is because he's not the answer. I don't want to get Cleveland Farrell back and then he's just like our guy at the other side. I really want him back as a requisite depth piece. He will be huge for us.
Yeah, I love that. Well,
yes, I said girth. Relax.
Yeah, he did. Who was saying Jacoby Brissett in here? Jacoby Brissett is retired. I'm pretty sure he retired. I'm almost positive of it. But okay, so the guy that I want to bring back along the same lines, but Randy Gregory. Gregory, I thought there was a lot of questions about who Randy Gregory was leaving Denver, and we know that he was like blue chip when he first came in the league, and he had some issues of what he could not have been a more upstanding citizen, a better teammate. The guy gave effort through the roof, was a pretty damn good pass rusher. And I think he gives some depth to the pass rush that is desperately needed on this team. So I know why you like Cleveland. I think he's probably better against the run, which I think is extremely important, especially for a guy that maybe starts on down 1 and then you spell him downs 2 and 3 for a pure pass rush or what have you. But for me, Randy Gregory's that guy that I think can be the depth piece, can sub in on either side. And I just feel like he was around the quarterback an awful lot for a guy that wasn't getting paid much by the 49ers at all. And I would love to have Randy Gregory back.
Yo, I'm not mad at that at all. I mean, Randy Gregory showed a lot in his pass coverage, his pass rushing. Not so much in running. I mean, in run defense, but I think one of the reasons why we like these guys is because it just helped with our depth. And that's what we need. Our top 4 were supposed to be, our top 3. We don't know who the 4th guy is, but we got Javon Hargraves, Eric Armstead, and Nick Bosa. So what comes behind that is like really important to keep those other dogs fresh. So, I honestly think they're going to double down and go. I think they're going to go D-line in the first round. I really do. I don't want to, but I just, it's how they're built, bro. We're man. I think that they're going to go with D-line in the first round.
All right. Give me a player that's not here that the 49ers should go after signing as far as free agents go.
Well, all right. Well, let's segue. The only way that I would be okay with us going D-line in the first round is if we went corner in the second, which we can get a corner in the second. And the only reason why I would be okay with D-line in the first, corner in the second is if we got Tyron Smith from Dallas. Now, if we got Tyron Smith from Dallas, and threw him over at the right tackle spot, I wouldn't be mad at that. That right there would solidify that spot. Then what we can honestly do is then we can go get ourselves a guard in the third round. We can find us a stout guard in the third round or in the second round, and then still have the D line. We still stay to our roots. We're always going to build through the D line. So we'll have us a nice first round pick at D line. And then really, if you really want to go with it, if you're going to go D line in the first round, go get your pass rusher. Especially at 31, you don't need him to be a Nick Bosa. You really need a guy to just pin his ears back and go. That's really what our problem is. We don't have anybody that could be respected on the other side to go get the quarterback. So I wouldn't be mad at that. If they're going to go D-line, go get a pass rusher, go get your guy. But handle tackle now. Just go ahead and get Tyron Smith. I wouldn't be mad at that pickup at all. And you throw him over there at right tackle, it's going to be much easier than what he has to deal with on a regular basis. I think that's the move. How do you feel about that?
I wouldn't be mad at getting him. I still would want to draft an offensive lineman in the first round. Here's my thought, because I do agree that they need defensive line help still, which is crazy with all the assets they've dumped into it. Mm-hmm. So here's my thought. Well,
we missed on Javon Kinlaw. We missed on Solomon Thomas.
No,
right?
For sure.
We've been missing in the draft too.
Yeah. No, Drake Jackson hasn't panned out.
We missed on Drake Jackson. Yeah.
So for me, I hope they draft offensive line in the first round. I like corner in round 2. The guy that has been talked about forever around the San Francisco 49ers, and can we go get him at trade deadlines for like the last 2 years, and it just hasn't happened. And also, I think it's a realistic player that they can get. I see like people saying L'Jarius Sneed.
No way.
They don't have the money for L'Jarius Sneed. Maybe Jalen Johnson. Maybe
Jalen Johnson.
Maybe.
Kendall Fuller, though.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Kendall Fuller for sure. But a player that I think they actually could afford, that I think would be perfect here, would be maybe a 2-year stopgap, would be Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter.
Love that guy.
Dude, he has produced for years, man. Years. And with nobody around him at times, he still produces. He produced last year. He would produce here in a big way. Man, he would be a perfect player. And then now you've taken care of that edge position. You don't need to draft it in round 1. You can go get your offensive lineman in round 1, and then you can draft a corner in round 2. That's what I would like to see, Danielle Hunter.
I mean, what's he making? What does he think he can get?
You know what? They have like what they think he'll get on the open market, whatever it is. I don't
14.
think he'll get that much. I don't think he'll get that.
Right now they're saying 14 million. That's his estimated price tag.
I'd be curious to see if they thought Javon Hargrave was going to get last year on the open market. I bet you it's way more than what he got.
That's true. But the only reason why I'm thinking about that is that Danielle Hunter, that 14 million, that's Aziz right there. So if you had to if you were going to cough up 14 million, what'd you do? Would you do Aziz or Danielle Hunter?
Danielle Hunter in a heartbeat.
You would take Danielle Hunter over Aziz?
Yes.
I'm about to fight you. What you talking about? How?
100%. 100%.
Explain that.
100%.
Explain that. You do know Oren Burks had 100. He had a 138 quarterback rating on his. He's the reason why Travis Kelce emerged in the game. You do understand that. Dre Greenlaw not playing in that game, you could argue single-handedly lost that game for us. You could argue that.
Yeah, that's a possibility for sure. But if you had Danielle Hunter opposite of Bosa, I don't know that Patrick Mahomes would have been getting away from much of anything. Also,
he'd been throwing it on Burks.
Can I throw this out there too?
Okay.
When I was at training camp, there's one thing that I came away with, and I was talking about it on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Graham, I think, can be a guy in this league. Okay.
Okay.
7th round
All right.
pick last year. I get it. But man, I'm telling you, I think he can be a guy, especially just to fill in halfway through the season or whatever till Greenlaw comes back. I really think he can be a guy.
I'm getting really bothered by the chat. I'm very surprised. Now, listen, we are all on the same playing field right now. I'm really surprised that so many people think that that Danielle Hunter over Aziz is such like a slam dunk. How?
Yeah, get him, chat. You let him know.
But honestly, though, like, how do you? No, but really though, like, how do you see? What other linebackers? It's so hard to find good linebackers. Pass rushers are everywhere. You can find a pass rusher. You can get a rookie.
You can draft one in round 2 that sucks ass. You can go trade for one at the midseason that doesn't have any effort to give you. You certainly can find them for sure. We've made it really clear.
You know how hard it is to find a linebacker, though?
You know how hard it is to find somebody opposite of freaking Bosa? We've been trying since 2019.
Well, he need to split his ass in half and go on both sides of his goddamn self. We paid him $34 million.
He should be 2 pass rushers.
We need to, like, they did some shit. We paid him 34. Now we got to go get him. That's like the friend who buys you a horse for your birthday. It's like, fuck, I'm going to do with a horse.
It's this simple.
What am I going to do with a horse now?
Hold on. It's this simple. When you build your team, where are the highest drafted positions? It's quarterback, protecting the quarterback, getting after the quarterback. So you're talking quarterback, offensive line, pass rushers. Those are the 3 premium positions. Those are the high paid positions. Those are the highest drafted positions. Over a line. When you have Fred Warner, man, you better be able to make it work with some guys.
With all due respect, all right, and you know what? I like that. But with all due respect, you are moving the goalposts because you said starting a team. Both of these guys are active free agents. So we're not talking about starting a team. We're talking about in a vacuum what our team needs most right now. So starting a team, of course, I'm going to get a quarterback, a pass rusher, a lineman, and the whole 9. That's cool. But that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about
need a pass rusher and a linebacker. So
but we're not starting a team.
Right, but I feel like it's the same difference is what I'm saying.
How is it the same? We just went to the Super Bowl.
Needs. You have both needs right now,
and we just lost Dre Greenlaw in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We ain't had a pass rusher all year.
How many teams have 2 elite linebackers? How many teams have 2 elite? How many teams have the luxury of 2 elite linebackers?
Very few. And I think like the Ravens and the Chiefs were one of them. Well, the Chiefs linebackers are not very elite. Let me stop, but they're decent.
Yeah, but
the Ravens, Pat McQueen and Roquan Smith are elite linebackers. Very few teams have great linebackers.
And Patrick Queen, 95% chance he walks this offseason. And guess what? They're going to be like, oh, we got Roquan Smith. We're going to fill in with a rookie or a second-year player.
But they got a dog out of Clemson. It's not exactly – they actually got a guy, all right, who's a really good guy. Don't fucking look like that. All I'm saying is that Dre Greenlaw for our defense, he's not just a linebacker. I think he's a really big piece. He's an emotional piece. He actually – not to be disrespectful, but Fred plays a little bit different without Dre on the field. And I think that in order to kind of make sure that that's still a lateral move, I think Aziz will be perfect. Over Danielle Hunter as a pass rusher, we can get a pass rusher.
I'm taking Danielle Hunter. Jamaro says, subject is called pick one, Jesse. I agree, and coach is picking the wrong one. That's the whole argument. We're picking one. He's just picking the wrong one.
It's ridiculous.
All right. Let me fire through these super chats because we still have one more topic as well. So let me get through these real quick. Dave says, Brother Bob always making great points. Brother Bob says, Dave, I'm trying to be reasonable like you, sir. They're talking
to each other through chats.
Dave says reasonable. Just obvious points. Can't see. So stupid. Shady Luke says, disagree on Charvarius. Guys like Jalen Johnson and Chi-Town, Sauce Gardner, Deron Bland, all those dudes are number ones. I think Ward is there. Lower completion percentage than McDuffie, who was way good. Same with yards per reception. Yeah, I mean, I think Charvarius is good. He's really good.
I don't think
I'm
he's the
not
number
saying
one.
He's a one or he's not. That's fair. I think he is a one. He's just not a lockdown. You're saying a lockdown one. Because when I look at one, I say, okay, well, technically there's
he is the
32 ones in
best
the
corner
league.
on our team.
Guys.
He is the number one corner.
And he's a top 32 corner, so that's technically a number one corner. But you're saying a lockdown guy. Like, you can travel with anybody, follow him around the field, you're going to lock him down. Exactly. I don't think he's that either.
Like, we don't face literally any receiver we have in the NFL and say, oh, well, we got Travarius Ward. Like, that doesn't happen.
If it's a big receiver, then we feel good about it. Brian Kolb says, give Bill Belichick the bag to coach the defense. Yeah, but like I said, that means we're firing a lot of people to make it work. 49ers Faithful says, all I have to say, 2024 is the last chance for this team because Brock Purdy is still cheap. I agree with that. Upgrade O-line immediately. I love it. Roscoe says, Debo can beat man and there is film, but 22 All-Pro.
Debo can beat man and there is film, but 22 All-Pro.
I don't know. Is he just saying that he's...
Debo can beat... I think this is what Ross was trying to say. Debo can beat man and there's all 22 film to show it.
Oh,
I think. Okay. If that's what he's trying to say, he might be able to say that. He might be trying to say that.
Okay. I mean, he was kind of in shackles in the Super Bowl. Roscoe says Ward was asked to guard DK and locked him up. I agree.
I don't think DK is that.
I don't think DK is that great either. I don't think DK should be
bro.
I think he's super overrated.
He's overrated, bro.
But he did lock him up. I also thought he did pretty good against AJ Brown.
He did.
But it's bigger receivers. It's the bigger receivers. If you give him Puka Nacua, I don't think he can guard Puka Nacua. So
yeah.
Cryptic says, do you think Greenlaw comes back the same? We saw what happened with Bowman. If this season RO carried us, do we continue to focus on that side? I
just don't think it's the same injury first.
I don't think it'll be this year, though. But you're right. Bowman shredded every ligament in his
everything. It's not the same thing. It's not like Navarro went through his injury and then he tore his Achilles. Like, Navarro went through his injury and he was told that he may not play again. He tore his MCL, his PCL, and his ACL. Everything went for Navarro. It's not the same injury.
Roscoe says BA's a dog, but not the playmaker Debo is. But he's a better receiver than Debo. And I feel like this offense now calls for a receiver. Debo was great when we had Jimmy. With Brock, I honestly believe this, Roscoe. This is just my opinion. There was a lot of questions on would they trade Debo, and they did shop him before they signed him. If Brock Purdy had been the quarterback, I think they probably would have been more willing to trade him. But they didn't know at that time. It was like, okay, we got Trey. We're trying to develop him. There's probably going to be a lot of throws around the line of scrimmage. Let's make it easier on him. Jimmy or Jimmy Garoppolo will be here. Either or. I feel like they probably a pure wide receiver is what I think Brock Purdy needs, especially with CMC here now. But hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
Mike drops with Monster says, let's be honest about dogs. If your effort is questionable, you're not a dog. Okay.
That's
Dave
facts.
says Logan Ryan can go.
I think Logan Ryan wants to go.
He'll be gone.
I think after the game, Logan Ryan was like, all right, well, I guess I'll be going.
Yeah.
This was nice.
See you later. Yeah. Thanks for showing up. Dave says, Aziz, go get Aziz, please. Todd says, how come no one is talking about re-signing Kinlaw? Because I don't care if Kinlaw comes back. If I'm just
you don't care? You don't think that he turned on in the playoffs?
He was
fine.
Don't think so? He's fine. He's just a rotational piece, though.
Oh, okay. So that's what I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
I understand.
He's not
bad. Right. So I understand you not wanting him back for what we got him for, right? Mm-hmm. He's not this first round coveted player that we cannot move on without. He's not that. But we do have a lot of equity in him. We did nurse him back all the way to the point where he can play a full season. And I'd like to see I like to see what that looks like next year. On top of the fact that he played his strongest ball near the end of the season. He had a really good Super Bowl for Javon, and he had good playoffs.
I don't think he's bad. If you can get him at a good price, I'm just not making it a priority to keep Javon Kinlaw.
Okay, now I will tell you that if he kicks up dust, he can go. It's like, it's not you. I know you ain't, not you. But
this is the same team that moved on from Jones.
True.
Who was very, very good.
Who was very good.
I'm fine moving on from.
Yeah,
Javon.
but I just also depth is one thing about depth, Jesse, is like it's curated. It's not we have the guys so we have the depth. Depth also works because you have like guys that are kind of like on different tracks. Like you may have a Javon who was a first round pick. He's just getting his legs up under him. He may give us a hometown deal, right?
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this then. Let's just keep it because this is the scenario ahead of them.
Okay.
Two guys that are the same age, play the same position, both free agents on this team. And I'm not going to throw it out for sure. Like, I don't know what they're going to get on the open market, but let's say $4.5 million for Kinlaw or $2 million for Givens. Who would you sign? Give me Givens at $2 million.
Don't say it before I say it. Yes, give me $2 million for Givens.
Okay, so that's my point. That's why I'm not like, okay, Kinlaw. It's got to be Kinlaw.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if it comes down, like in that scenario, yes. But, I would like to keep him.
Okay. Brother Bob says, Aziz, hands down, knows the system, has chemistry. You know what, Brother Bob? I don't know what I was going to say. Dave Barclay says, I nominate Brother Bob for head coach. I will assist. All right. Shady Luke says, I got you, coach. I agree 1,000%.
Yes. I'm not even going to, you know what he's talking about. I got one lone dude of these.
Dave says, don't hate. Brother Bob and I will go to the game one day. Shady Luke says, nah, man, there's corners coming out of high school that could lock up Debo on every route besides a 9-go route or any kind of post route. Wow. Gee, many Christmas.
That's Brandon not an exaggeration.
Brandon Green, can we draft a returner and hire a real special teams coach? That's what I'm saying, Brandon.
We just hired the special teams coach, though.
I'm not saying the special team. I agree with half of it. I want a really good punt returner. I do. Mm-hmm. Brother Bob says, laugh out loud at coach. You picking up dust? Oh, hell.
Oh, no. I mean, I thought, because that's what I'm saying. Like, there are certain times where, when you're in the building, you see these guys on a 24-hour basis. So, like, when it's time to get paid and certain guys start asking for things, it is kind of like, you nudge somebody, be like, can you believe what this motherfucker asked for? All the times we done carried his ass. I can't believe this. So, it's going to be interesting to see, because then one thing that I do find interesting is the players that like played here and they were like marginal players, but then they go to other teams and they're like the man, like how they move, they hold swag. Like KB has turned into such a little man. Have you seen KB? Yeah, like with the Patriots? And I'm like, KB, you were like our little brother here. Like you were like our squirrely kid brother that used to beg to stay in the back seat of the car. Like you barely was getting things done here. So, I mean, it's just funny once they leave and, they get cachet. Even with DJ Jones, like they look at him as like the man there. He is like one of their like trench dogs. And for us, he was like a package guy. Like he came in on heavy downs, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm going to be tight if I see next year that Javon finally got an offseason where he didn't have to worry about his knee. He finally came off of a whole season. And then I see him like balling the hell out in Philly. I'm going to be tight. And then being used in the same exact way. 20 plays a game. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, we got him from San Francisco. Javon Kinlaw was amazing for Philadelphia. You know how it's going to go. So it's just like, I just want to keep our guys.
I got you. All right, let's get into this final topic. So a lot of chatter about next year and just how easy it's going to be for this team to just be right back where they are get to the Super Bowl, NFC Championship, shouldn't be in it. In fact, I mean, on paper, when you look at it, they should be better because they're gonna have an offseason. They're gonna bring in some free agents. Most of the core is here. They're gonna have their draft picks finally. They're all gonna be awesome and contribute. But on paper doesn't necessarily translate to on the field. Why don't you talk to me about the difference? Do you believe there's a difference? I guess I'll just ask you, do you believe there's a difference? Because a lot of people are looking at on paper what this roster should be and think, oh, they'll just be right back to where they are. No problem. We're good to go. And I feel like that confidence might be a little bit misplaced. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, how can you blame us on one hand? I mean, we're almost like the Beatles. Like we know all the names and they run them off every year and they always get named in tandem. I believe like at one point I thought like George Kittle was trying to at one point I thought like George was trying to like groom us. Like we were being socially engineered. Like every time you talk about the team, he would go through the whole late name. He's like, oh, well, if they would ask him a question, he would like answer the question with a question. Like he'd be like, yeah, George, so how do you feel about the San Francisco 49ers? How do you feel about the San Francisco 49ers this year? It's like, I don't know. How do you feel about a team with Jimmy Garoppolo and Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel? And, you know, we have a team like Dre Greenlaw. He just goes through all of the names. So in a way, you can look at the usual suspects and say to yourself, like, man, like, we should be able to do it again. But the teams in NFL are either getting worse or they're getting better. Nobody stays the same. So I'm reserving judgment on where I see the team is going to look like. Because on paper, I see the holes. I saw the holes on paper before the season started, you know? So yeah, it is different from what you see on paper, but if you're really looking at all of the names, you can see like, man, we're really not that deep on the offensive line. You know, I feel like there's a difference in us as fans that I've learned is when the ball's rolled out or when the season starts, fans are like 100% for the team, period. But I do feel like we get we're a conscientious bunch when it comes to understanding the entire team. Like, you know, I don't think that there was anything on the team that anybody was oblivious to. Let me say that. Like going into the season, everybody was talking about the right side of the offensive line. We were all talking about it, right? Going into the season, I mean, there were things that we were worried about that didn't happen. Going into the season, we were worried about Christian McCaffrey. He's going to be healthy. Like, how was Kyle going to use him, right? Into the season, we thought that we really were going to have an issue with Javon Hargraves and stopping the run. That turned out to be true, right? We tried to figure out, well, what we were going to do as safety. Safety ended up being probably one of our most battered and bruised up units, but they ended up flourishing at the end of the day. Even our secondary in some aspects. So I feel like we do a pretty good job at understanding what we have as a team on top to bottom as far as the paper's concerned. It's just that when the games start, what we expect out of them, that I feel like that's the gap.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that there's a lot of things to win a Super Bowl. There's a lot of luck that goes into it as well. And the 49ers have had a hellacious injury history. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
But this year they were relatively healthy. Yeah, okay. Couple missed games by Trent and Armstead and Deebo and what have you. But for the most part, they were healthy. Kittle didn't even miss a game this year, did he? I mean, that's the first time in forever. CMC, can he go a full another season with 400 plus touches and not miss a game?
Yes.
You know, so these things, for the most part, they were relatively healthy and luck was on their side. You can't guarantee that. Now, we also add in the fact that the NFC was about as down as it could be. The NFC will be better next year. Even if the 49ers are a little bit better, the NFC will be better. Detroit has, as of now, on a projected cap of $242.5 million, and it might go up to $250 is what we're hearing. On that projected cap, they have $48 million. The Rams have $40 million. You know, the Seattle now has a new head coach. Green Bay was the youngest team in the NFL, and now they've got some experience. So the NFC is not going to be as easy as it was, in my opinion, or tailor-made to win next year. So the 49ers are really going to have to go out and earn some things on a level that they didn't necessarily have to do that. And you are definitely the hunted now. Not that they weren't before, right? Everybody's kind of going after him, but now you made it to a Super Bowl. You are for sure the hunted in the NFC. We'll see. We'll see, man. It's way too early. We haven't even gone through free agency. I guess what I'm saying is you just can't bank on the team being better on paper, so they're all of a sudden going to be back there. That's why it was so heartbreaking for me as a fan to lose in that Super Bowl, because there is no guarantee. You know, Dan Marino made it in year 2 and never went back. He's a top 7 quarterback of all time. There's just no guarantees. We thought the team with Harbaugh was going to be back, and then they had a mass exodus of players. You just never
it was so
know
quick how that happened. It was so quick. It was like a domino effect. I've never seen it go down. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, we've been here for this stuff before, you know? So when we talk about the regime, I do kind of feel like a lot of the fan base is kind of getting here with Kyle. They weren't here before, some of them, because they cling on to this regime like, oh my God, what are we going to do without him? And it's just like, dude, this happened with Coach Harbaugh. Like, you don't remember like how quickly things changed out of nowhere? The early retirements, bro, how we kept losing guys. Who's the white kid that we lost at linebacker that just retired out of nowhere? Who's that kid?
Oh, Chris Borland.
Yeah. Like, just out of nowhere, bro. Like, all I'm saying is that we got to count our blessings with the team that we got. And I don't want to like wait until the wheels fall off before we start saying like, oh man, like, let's what are we gonna do now? It's like, nah, bro. Like, we need to get younger. We're extremely old, and not to be, you know, I don't want to give out a doomsday scenario, but a lot's gonna change once we pay Brock. Like, once we pay Brock, then you really gonna see what our team looks like, because this isn't realistic with what we have right now. Brock is getting paid pennies. So even if Brock gives us a hometown discount, he's going to be making anywhere from $28 million and up, at least $30 million a year. So there's no way that Nick Bosa is going to be making more money than our quarterback. Like, so I'm telling you, like, once Brock gets paid, then I really want to see what John and Kyle are made out of. Because now you gotta build your team like the rest of the league. We've had the luxury of building our team without the same like albatross around our neck that most teams do, where they have their guy, they're paying their quarterback traditional quarterback money, and then they build their team. That's one of the reasons why our team is so freaking talented. It's because we're not putting any money in the quarterback position, and then we're doubling down and not putting any money in the offensive line. Like, we have laughable money in our offensive line. It's like, I understand when we talk about it, right? When we talk about it, you know, it's like, oh, well, Trent Williams, you know, on paper, like we just talked about, like on paper, it's like, oh, well, Trent Williams, and you would think, all right, Aaron Banks is, you know, not as good as Trent Williams, but he's relatively adequate to Trent Williams' talent. And, you know, we think, oh, well, we're just kind of struggling with Spencer Burford, and Colton McKivitz is a strong guy, but he's growing. And then Jake Brendel was a Pro Bowler, right? But if you go by the numbers, it's unreal. We got 12.91% of our cap is in tackles, right? That's 6 tackles out of Trent Williams, Colton McKivitz, Jalen Moore, Nick Sakel, Sebastian Gutierrez, and Corey Luciano, right? Out of those 6 tackles, they make up of 12.9% of our cap. Trent Williams in that group of 6 makes up for 11.24% of that cap, of that number. So we're splitting literally 1.5% damn near between 5 players at tackle. That's ridiculous. 1.2% of our cap is spent in guard. 1.48% of our cap is spent on the center. All right, so it's kind of like when you look at this combined with Trent Williams, that's 12.91, 1.2. So that's 13. That's 14% plus 1.48. We're looking at 14 to 16% of our entire cap is covered in our offensive line. All right. That's 14 to 16%. Trent Williams makes up 12% of that. We don't value the position. And you can look at it on the field because it definitely fleshes out on the field. But if you look at the money, it's inexcusable. They're paying them pennies.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And we'll see if they don't draft one in round 1 this year, then proof's even more in the pudding because we all know what needs to happen. Brother Bob says, David, you can be coach. Let me be the OC. Show Kyle Levy. David says, haha, I'm in. There should be a walk-on the head coach program. A walk-on head coach program. I see what you're saying. Wave 9 says, I like Brock, but I'd take Kirk Cousins and a second for Brock Purdy and Debo. Kirk with us would be wild. You saw how he sliced us up last year. Well, the good thing is if you really want a Kirk Cousins, he's a free agent. I don't know how he'll come back from his injury, but pre-injury, right now, Kirk Cousins is better than Brock Purdy. And I know people in the chat aren't going to want to hear that.
I don't even know you touched that. I'm over here like, why? I'm like, why?
I don't care, bro. I say what I feel, bro. I don't care. Like, I'm not going to tap dance around an opinion. It's like,
I'm like, why?
Listen, man. Listen. Too many people tap dance around opinions, right? And I'm not doing it. If that's the way I feel, that's the way I feel. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to go to Arizona, Shady Luke says. I agree. I think he is going to go there. I think it's a hell of a player if he does, man. Wherever he goes, he is really freaking good. It is rare that when you have a Hall of Fame caliber player like Marvin Harrison, that his son is that elite also. That's not normal, man. That is crazy. Marvin Harrison Jr. is really, really good.
I heard he's a killer.
Oh, God. Jiminy Christmas. Bucket of chicken somehow figuring out how to send a super chat. Says wish list, sign BA, Aziz, and get rid of 19 and 91. Ooh. Okay. That'll be expensive, man. It's going to cost them a lot to get rid of those. It's going to cost them a lot. So, Wave says, yeah, but Kirk wears the same Coles outfits as Brock. I feel like low key Brock kind of like is just stealing his swag. I'm not gonna lie.
No, what if on the low? What if on the low, Kirk is the one that's been hating on Brock the whole time? Like, what if on the low, like,
but not because of his
like,
quarterback play, but because he steals his swag. Yeah,
nice Dockers, cocksucker. Don't play with me. Where'd you get that fucking blazer from, Brock? Did you get out wholesome me? Huh?
Only I wear a vest around
Peter
here.
Parker.
Dave Barclay says, I'd rather honesty agree with bucket of chicken. All right, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not like we didn't see them on the field together and one was clearly better than the other. I mean, if only we had seen them on the field together so that we could actually look at that and say, man, which one of these guys is better? But we didn't, so we can't. It's just all hypotheticals. But if we had, I think hypothetically, Kirk Cousins might have been the better quarterback. Hypothetically, of course, because we didn't see it. All right, that being said, much love. Great first show with you, Coach. Dave says, Coach, I'm weak. We'll talk soon. Peace.
I'll let y'all.